John, not much time since the weekend, but your first cup game at the helm here. Obviously, you grew up with watching cup games. How does it feel to be part of it?
Well, watching cup games, what you always know is that there's a few banana skins in those opening rounds. There's always some upsets and surprises. So if I'm sitting in the Simcoe camp, they'll be pretty excited, and I think hoping for one of the biggest upsets in Canadian football history. So you either look at that as a curse or an opportunity, and it's probably a little bit of both. You know, I think coming into a match like this, you know, for us it's about advancing to the next round. You know, winning the cup is on the agenda for this group of players, and we'll be coming into this with full commitment to get the job done.
Has it been hard scouting them because they haven't played a competitive game this year? I mean, what do you really know about them, John?
Well, we managed to get quite a few games from last year, but they've changed the coach. So there was a friendly match against York. We were able to scout that a bit, and you know, I think we've gone through the process of just saying, look, we'll focus on us this week. If we impose ourselves the way that we can at home, you know, there's a certain style that you're expecting then, and you put the opposition into positions where you can be more predictable. So we've worked on the things we think we can control, and outside of that, I think, you know, teams like this, set pieces, transition, you have to be really dialed in on. Something that has cost us in recent games, but not this weekend, thank goodness.
How do you balance your roster selection, John? Obviously, this is a chance for you to give some players who perhaps have not seen a lot of action a chance to show themselves, but you also want to win the game. So,
well, I think that was the first thought. It was looking at the roster and the opportunities. There's players new through this phase 3, we call it, that there would be limited roster rotation. That's what I said at the beginning, and then it was next man up from the first week, so I regret saying that. But there have been some players that haven't seen the field, and you know, I'm anticipating they'll get a lot of minutes to again feel part of the group and to take a step forward in a big competition. So rotation-wise, obviously I've got Orlando in mind at the weekend, but this game is front and centre, and we'll do everything we can to put our best foot forward.
Is there excitement amongst the players? I mean, it's a cup game. They're playing against a lower division team. I mean, how would you describe it?
Well, I think there's excitement because there's a group that haven't had many minutes, and you have to draw on that sort of motivation. You know what comes with that, a little bit of out of game rhythm or a little bit out of cohesion, but you're able to match the level of motivation because that group are hungry and want to earn their more minutes out of this game, and obviously play in front of our fans and start in front of our fans some for the first time this season.
Did everybody come out of the game on the weekend okay?
DeAndre's will be out for this game. Unfortunately, his foot flared up again. Same sort of plantar fascia issues that he was carrying off the turf. So we're managing him. So he's definitely out and questionable for the weekend. But everyone else is available for selection with squad rotation in mind.
Alonso's going to be available?
Alonso is available, which is great news.
Okay. He came out of the concussion.
Yeah, he was very close for the weekend, John. Like you just don't take any risks with those things. I mean, he was very close for the weekend, but good now.
The transfer window is closing. We spoke to Jason yesterday, but are you going to be glad when it finally does close? Just, I mean, there's a bit of uncertainty, and
I want it to stay open as long as we can. You know, I think that we would like to get players in this window, but you know, Jason and myself are aligned on the strategy. The players coming in have to be able to uplift the team, not just the short term. It's got to be medium to long as well. And I think with our transfer kitty, it's a tricky one. So we just I think we're all in the same mindset. We don't want to just band-aid for the sake of band-aiding. I'd rather invest in some of the players that have had low minutes in the squad, and some of the players we've seen with TFC2 that are starting to put their hands up. I think with that competition starting, the MLS Next Pro gives you a chance just to see the kids that you've been keeping an eye on competitively, and I'm expecting a couple to put their hands up and step in. So it's not that the pressure's off the front office. I think they've been having some long nights, but we're all aligned that it's got to be the right person, and they've got to be able to have a real impact on the team.
So Lorenzo out there, is he continuing to make progress?
Yeah, he's looking good. He's looking really good. So he's just going through all the stages of the process, John, and it's one of them. You just can't cut any corners either. So while he's looking good, the key is we're not going to push him. We're not going to push that or try and accelerate it. It's just got to take its natural course.
We haven't seen much of Richie. Is he close to getting back on the field at least, or what's?
Well, he's been away. He spent some time, obviously, in Europe with the operation. Right. Then we allowed him to spend some time in Atlanta, where his family was based for a period, and he did a lot of the rehab there. But we've been able to bring a specialist into the medical group that's worked with this type of injury before. So that person's now travelled in with Richie, and yeah, everything he's doing is sort of sideline work in the gym. I've seen him moving now, so that's good. I just bumped into him in the corridor doing some of his looked like plyo work, which is it's very exciting. So he looks like he's moving well.
And is Brandon still on target for June, or could that be?
Yeah, he's meeting all his markers. I just think with the ACL, June we were pushing, I think, every boundary to bring him back for June, but he's hitting every marker so far. I think once you start cutting and turning, that's where you really start to see if the knee is having any adverse effects. So he's not in that stage of his development yet.
When you have a short turnaround like this and you're playing a club you don't know too much about, how much information can you give your team, or do you just, as you say, focus on what you're doing? I mean, is there a video session where you try and crunch everything into one thing? Or?
Well, it's similar to the men's national team. I just sort of took the template with, when we played USVI or Aruba, teams that you know that there's a level there to David and Goliath's story. They have a mindset. They typically have a style of player. They want to come in. Your biggest enemy is your own frustration and the motivation equation of it's not quite going how you expected it, etc. So we did a little bit of work on the mindset this morning. We set some targets for the game, some very clear targets. I always feel like that tends to supersede the motivation element, that it's the massive game for them, but we've set a pretty ambitious target for our team as well for this match, and it's not just going to be one of those games where guys are picking up minutes and getting a chance to prove themselves. They're actually going to have to work as a team to hit the goals that we've set internally, and it'll have to be a real team performance. So we always look at how you can set club records and where you can take that narrative to try and get the mindset right for our team.
First goal is always important, but I would imagine against an underdog team, it's especially important. It might change their mindset if you can score first.
Well, I think we've said the one thing you just can't put attention on is the scoreboard in these matches, or the clock. The clock and the scoreboard is your worst enemy. So, for us it's about, when you score one, typically you score 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that can happen in these games from my experience. So it's about process. That's where we put the attention today. Typically a match day -1 is more light, and you're getting the team ready across the overview, but we got right down to process today, and the guys were dialed in. You can see just how motivated they are to play this match. So we won't be looking at the scoreboard, we won't be looking at the clock. It's just on task, whistle to whistle, and the outcome they've set themselves, we'll look at that at the end of the game.
John, do you anticipate any TFC2 players getting called up?
Yeah, there'll be a couple of call-ups to this squad. We'll announce that a little bit later. We're just finalising all the paperwork on that, but there'll be some young men who've been proving themselves in the pre-season and who've been training with us as well. You know, it won't be some random name you've never heard of. It's guys who were in the pre-season with us.